thank you to Dr. Hui Min Low and her co-presenter, Professor Lewa Lee, for joining us. I have to say that Professor Lee's work has been a forerunner in Asia for using a corpus to inform test development as well as intervention development. This is a project that's quietly developed its infrastructure for Malay language and has turned the corpus open access and has ensured that lots of people start using it. So I now hand over to our first panelist, Dr. Hui Min Low. Over to you, Hui Min.
Thank you, Dr. Sunali. And thank you for the invitation to join this event. So today I will present research and applications of Malay Language Word Corpus, also known as MyBaca, originally developed by Professor Lewa Lee in Universiti Sains Malaysia. So I was helping in the developing of this word corpus when I was the postdoc fellow working together with Prof. Lee in School of Educational Studies, Universiti Sains Malaysia. So the content of today's presentation was actually extracted from a few past publications over the past 10 years, which we will share about the design and the development of the Malay language word corpus for primary schools. And we will also share about some word count analysis that we conducted based on the data in the word corpus, and a little bit of information about how we had used the word corpus to develop the Malay intervention program. So firstly, I would like to share with you a little bit about the language feature of Malay. So Malay actually share the same Latin script with English. It has the 26 letters as in English alphabet. And compared to English, Malay has very transparent orthography. And with the grapheme phoneme correspondence, which are very predictable and very systematic. There are only 3 types of sounds or phonemes in Malay writing system, which are the vowel sounds, the diphthongs, and the consonant sounds. And there are 5 vowel sounds for 6 vowel letters, 5 vowel letters for 6 vowel sounds. So the mapping is actually very direct, except for the letter E. And for the consonants, is actually a direct one-to-one grapheme and phoneme mapping. And other than that, we just have a small set of digraphs, which are 2 letters correspond to 1 phoneme. So Malay language is actually very simple. So if you are having plan to learn a foreign language, I think you should start with Malay. Okay, so even though Malay is a very transparent language, at that time, we were actually in a project to develop a reading intervention program. So while we started the planning of the intervention program development, we realized that there are still certain principles that we have to consider when we select the word choices in the intervention program. First of all, we know that we have to consider the word structure. We know that words with simpler structures will be easier for children to decode compared to words with complex structures. And other than that, we also have to consider the semantic accessibility. And of course, words which have concrete meaning, especially the normative, the nouns, the nominal term, is usually easier to decode and comprehend than words which are abstract, like the adjectives. Other than that, there are also other word properties that we have to consider when we develop the intervention program, such as the word frequency, word length, the grain size of the sound units, the inflectional patterns, and also the word categories. Okay, So yeah, just comparison of two word structures in Malay language. The first word is mata, which refer to eye. As we can see, this word contain of two open syllables. So we will assume that these words will be relatively easy to decode as compared to the second word, gairah. Gairah indicates emotion of excitement. So it's an abstract term, and it also contains digraphs. So comparatively, this would be a much complex word to decode. But we are making a lot of assumption without a word corpus, and we felt that the process were actually very subjective. So based on these concerns, that we have to consider so many word properties, and also the task of sourcing and selecting the words for the intervention program were actually rather tedious and demanding. So at that point of time, we thought that if there is a word corpus that can help us, to provide us with the information that we need and making informed choices when we select the words for the intervention program, that would be so great. So we did literature search, and we browsed the internet, and we realized that Malay language word corpus were relatively few. And even though there was some word corpus available at that point of time, those word corpus were developed based on online news, word repertoires, and which are adult reading resources. And there was almost no Malay word corpus, which were actually developed based on children printed materials. And from our reading, we also realized that adult-based word data has weak associations with children's language skills compared to data which generated from children's reading materials. So based on these concerns, we took on the journey to develop the Malay language word corpus, which was built based on reading materials that are most familiar to students in the primary schools. So I think one of the participants also highlighted just now, in a lot of maybe communities, textbooks used in schools are probably the only reading resources available to the children, especially those from the lower economic community. So based on this justification, and also textbook will be books that are accessible by all children, we decided that we are going to develop the word corpus based on textbooks. Yeah. So the reason we wanted the word corpus is, first of all, is because to solve our problem, to finding the word choice for the reading intervention program. And we also felt that by sharing this word corpus with others, we hope that it can help teachers and maybe children's book authors to actually find the suitable word sets to include in their material design and development. So this is the journey of, or the process of how we had developed the word corpus. First of all, we actually extract the words from the body text and the activity column of 4 Malay language textbooks, which were the textbooks used in the primary school by the primary 1 and primary 2 students. And then the digital file we are transferred to Clang transcription processing program developed by Matt Whitney 2000 to generate a list of vocabulary. And from this process, 4,035 words types were generated, and 27,671 word tokens were generated. And these vocabularies, the vocabulary list, we transfer to word processor again for coding of linguistic properties, which include the frequency of occurrence, the word length, the phoneme length, the number of syllable, the type of syllable, the word category, and the syllabic structure. and two raters were involved in the coding separately, and discrepancy of coding were resolved in discussion. And the filter data with the related linguistic information were then uploaded into the online system. So this is the online system. Perhaps I can quickly go to the website to show you this online system. It is an open resource available to all. So you can actually access it from Google. Okay. So if you type in MyBaca in Google, you will be able to find the URL for this word corpus. So when you enter into the website, there will be an introduction of what you can do, and there is a help and instruction session here where you can find information of how to actually navigate this website. So this is how it looks like. So you can actually search the words according to the criteria, your own criteria, or the things that you are looking for. So there are a few features that you can search. For example, the frequency search. So if you enable it, then you can actually set, if you are looking for high frequency words, then you maybe want to set between 100 to 200. So the list appearing here on the slide will be all the high frequency words. Yeah. And if you are looking for low frequency word, you can just move the bar to words which are below 30, for example, and you will be able to see the words with the low frequency word. And for example, you want to look for words with specific phoneme. You also got the choice that you want to find words start with particular phoneme, or words end with particular phoneme, or any words that contain the phoneme in any position of the word. For example, if I want to find words start with the letter P, so and I also can say that I just want to look for word with the letter P which are high frequency. Then you can actually move the bar around to limit your search. And you can combine multiple features together when you search. For example, you want to look for high frequency words with the letter P, and you want to only look for words with 4 syllables. So you can actually limit your search. Or you want to look for words with only 3 to 4 syllables, you also can move this bar to actually limit your search so that you can get the specific list that you desire. And to start a new search, you just need to click on the reset button. So this is a quick introduction of this word corpus. Okay, back to my slide. Okay, so just a little bit of sharing about the data that we have obtained along the process of us developing this word corpus. So this is actually, this table summarize the distribution of words that we obtain from the textbook. And finally, we actually just extract the words from the body text and activity. In the textbook itself, there are many instructions, and we decided to omit words from the instruction because it gave us, actually, there were a lot of words which were repetitive, like instruction, we usually have read the passage, do these activities. So we will end up have a lot of words like read, do, answer with high frequency of occurrence, which were we realized that it was not very representative. So we only got the words from the body text and activity. And the data that we have actually provide us with very useful information when we develop the intervention program. For example, from this data set, we got to know the type of graphemes with high frequency of occurrence in the reading material that the students were exposed to in their textbook. So we realized that the most frequent occurring consonants were N, K, R, and T, and the most frequent occurring vowels were actually A, E, I, U. So this doesn't really map with our understand or our initial assumption of the phoneme development or phonology development pattern. So I think this is interesting because we know that the most frequent occurring consonants were not actually mapping with the hierarchy of phonological development, which we originally thought we want to use to guide our intervention program. But after seeing this, then we changed our mind. And also, a dilemma frequently faced by teachers in Malaysia is the letter E, because this is the only vowel in Malay language that has more than two sounds, which is and a. So a lot of time teachers were unsure, when they want to teach the reading of letter E, should they introduce the sound of first or a? But this data show us very clearly that the phoneme of has much higher frequency of occurrence than the phoneme of a. So it justifies us when we want to do the reading intervention program, we should focus on the sound of first, when we introduce the reading. And also it provides the syllabic structure information to help us to know how should we plan the introduction of syllables. As Prof. Reynolds mentioned, English has a very high frequency of monosyllabic words, but not for Malay. We have very few monosyllabic words. It's not even appearing in this list here. So a lot of Malay words are bi and trisyllabic, as you can see in this table. And an interesting information that we obtain is, in fact, the most frequent occurring syllabic structure is one which is with open syllable and plus one closed syllable, which is CM plus CVC. So this also make us realize that when we design the intervention program, we cannot just focus on open syllabic word, which we initially planned. We thought that open syllabic CV plus CV would be easier, right, to teach and for the students to decode. But we now realize that if we only focus on CV plus CV, then it's actually not helping the students to read, because a lot of words are with, is actually with the structure of CV plus CVC. So realizing that it actually helped us to plan our intervention, that we should introduce CVC as soon as possible in our intervention program. And also, the word corpus also reveal a lot of information about the inflectional patterns of the word. So as you can see in this graph, we realize from the word corpus that a lot of the Malay words in the textbooks are actually the root words, which are not inflected. And this information is useful for us. Then we can happily focus on root word, because if we by focusing on root word, at least for the Malay language, the student can read as much as near half of the words in the textbook. So guided by this information, then our reading intervention program actually focus on word level recognition that only focus on root word. And obviously, we also have other information like the most frequent words. And one key point that I have to probably mention here is we also realize from this table that there are a lot of high frequency words are actually pronounced and dietic words. So dietic words are like these, that, there, these are the didactic words that are frequently occurring in the text. So by having this information, then we know that no, we can't actually focus on content word only, which is actually one of our initial plan, because we always assume content words is easier to read and understand. But when we see the distribution patterns of the words, there are many non-content words in the text, which include the pronouns, the function words, and the deictic words. So if focusing only on the content words, which are the focus in many reading programs, then it actually doesn't help that much, because other than the content words, the children are also exposed to a lot of non-content words. So all this information that we obtain actually help us to make some important decision when we design the reading intervention program. And I know because of the constraint of time, so I will probably go quicker for this. So this is just another paper that we produced. It's about the inter-rater reliability. And we found that when we compared the data that we have with a group of pre-service teachers that we engaged to do the coding, we found very good inter-rater coefficient result. And also, but from the teachers, we also realized there were some discrepancies, and we had put forward some suggestions regarding these discrepancies, as things that we have to pay attention when we train teacher, to improve their competence to give instruction about reading. So the final part of this presentation, I would like to share with you two resources developed by Professor Lei Hua Lee. The first is the Malay Dyslexia Battery. This was a test battery developed in Malay to assess dyslexia for among children who are learning Malay language. So there are three components in this test. The first component is about the literacy skills. The second one is about their cognitive abilities. And the third one is about their phonological processing. So these were just a brief overview of the mean scores obtained for these different components. And these are the representation of the test components together with the example of the test, the test content. So if you are interested to know more about this assessment battery, I would encourage you to read this article by Prof. Lee. And lastly, this is the product, the intervention program, which were finally developed based on the word corpus. So this intervention program was developed by incorporating multi-sensory instruction strategies and with structured literacy instruction. And this is an example of the instructions given or incorporated in the intervention. And this is the structure of the intervention program. And a lot of the word examples are here. In fact, all of the word examples here were actually taken from the word corpus. And the design of the sequence of instruction here was also based on the information that we obtained from the word corpus. So with this, I would like to thank you. And I would also like to express my gratitude to a lot of people who have been using this word corpus. For example, Sun Tak, who is now doing his doctoral study in University of Nottingham, Malaysia, and he has been using this in part of his research. So with this, I would like to thank Professor Lei Hua Lee for initiated this project, and also to Dr. Sonelli for inviting us to share in this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you train teachers to use this corpus, or is it something that is out there and people come upon it through word of mouth? How is it that you're getting people to use your corpus? which is open source?
Yeah. So actually, the word corpus project was ended a few years ago, but we make it available as an open resource. So a lot of people actually got to know about this word corpus when they actually did search to look for word corpus. Yeah, so we did not actually actively promote this word corpus to Malaysian teachers, but perhaps this can be something that we should be doing in the future. Yeah, so next year, Prof. Lee has the plan to actually launch the assessment battery and the intervention program. She has completed the writing of the manual for these two resources. So together, I think we should start on certain activities to actually introduce to the teachers about this word corpus.
Thank you. Thank you.